Thank you. So yes, my name's Tommy. I'm here with the Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing. It's an awesome resource that they have here on campus. This year, I'm volunteering as a financial ambassador. So kind of the goal is one of the struggles that they've seen over the last few years with students with their well-being is just kind of constantly worrying about money. So the goal of the financial ambassador is just kind of meet with students, do presentations like this, and just kind of help people organize their money and in a way that they don't have to worry about it as much, hopefully just to relieve a little stress. So today's presentation is a money management, as you can see, and it's just a few kind of tips and tricks to maybe make finances and budgeting a little bit easier for you. So the first thing I would ask yourself just to kind of think about would be if you can really try to narrow down where you're spending your money. I think that's where people see the most struggle is it's easy to know where your money's coming from. You're getting it in big lump sums. But when you're trying to think about all those, like whether it be like coffee or the small little things you spend your money on, it's pretty easy to forget. And it adds up over time and can cause some stress in the long run. So the first slide we've got here is just kind of 5 money management tips. And it's kind of what we'll cover throughout the rest of the presentation as well. So the first one, control your spending. Pay yourself first, which essentially what that's saying is just when you get that paycheck or whatever it be, just kind of set aside the amount of money that you want to save or you need to spend on something important first. Do that before you're trying to spend anything else. Use debt carefully, whether that be loans or credit cards or anything like that. We're going to want to make sure that we're using that in the smartest way possible. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Protect your identity. Essentially, that's just saying don't leave passwords for your bank accounts and stuff like that laying around. When you get important documents, once you're done reading them, make sure to shred them. You just don't want anybody getting into your accounts and stealing your money. That would be worst case scenario. And then lastly, manage your risk. So this is the savings goal worksheet. I think you guys just got handed that. If not, let me know. Essentially, this is just kind of one of the worksheets that we have to kind of help actually put your goals on paper and kind of help you visualize them. So if you guys want to take a minute, you don't have to necessarily do all 3 of them right now, but if you can think of a goal off the top of your head, essentially all it's asking you for is either short-term, medium-term, or long-term goal. It says short-term goals generally take around 3 to 6 months, medium-term goals, less than 3 years, and long-term goals further. If you have a goal in mind and it doesn't fit in one of those time ranges, you can always change it because it's personalized, more personalized, the better. But short term, I mean, it could be anything from paying rent, or if you know you're going to go on a trip in the next couple months or something like that, just write down the date, how much you think it costs, and then how much would you need to save monthly, and then maybe a couple of saving strategies as well, whether it be, I'm not going to go to Starbucks this week, or maybe I'm not going to do it this month. Just a couple of ways to save a couple dollars. Because I think that writing it down is really the best way to kind of visualize it and get that plan rolling. I'll give you guys a minute if you want to think about that. All right, I'm going to jump into the next slide real quick. This is going to be the other worksheet that you guys got. It's a spending perception scoring key. So really what it is it's just got kind of a handful of questions there for you. And you're just going to score yourself 1 through 5. Should only take a second. I think there's it's 18 questions. And then at the end of it, what you're going to do is you're just going to add them up. I think this is kind of a good exercise because I know the first time I did it, I scored a little higher than I thought I would have. It just kind of really makes you think about all those different things that you're spending your money on. It's a lot of them. I feel like it's pretty easy to forget about. And like I said earlier, over time, those can definitely add up. So if you want to just take a minute and rank yourself quick. And if you rank yourself and you score higher than you thought it was, it's not a big deal. There's always ways to kind of get that ranking a little bit lower. And we'll continue to talk about ways to do that. All right. And as you wrap that, adding those up, like I said, just remember, it's not a big deal if you scored a little higher than you thought it was. Like I said, I did as well. I think it's pretty normal, and it's just a good indicator that maybe it's time to start analyzing your finances a little bit more, paying a little closer attention to where that money is going and also where it's coming in from as well. So the next slide here is just kind of, again, talking about that controlling your spending. So the first step would be to list your sources of income, which oftentimes is easier than listing where your money's going. But it's important to know from where you're getting money. So whether it be scholarships, your job, whatever it is, you want to list that down. And then we can start going into ways to maybe increase your income. If you're not making as much as you thought you wanted to, maybe you can pick up a couple more hours. Maybe there's a part-time opportunity that you could pick up. And then next, what we want to do is track our expenses, which is kind of, I think, the hardest part. So what I do is I just use an Excel sheet. I think, does anybody have a way that they like to keep track of what they're spending? I know some people have apps and stuff like that. There's a good one called Mint. I liked using that one. It's just a little slower and delayed. So I just use Excel. But I find Excel to be easy because I can just kind of make it how I want to. And then I just look at my bank statement, type it right in there, and then I can kind of label it, see where I spend money. Was it gas? Was it going to the grocery store, rent, etc. And then we want to differentiate between needs and wants, which is also, I'd say that's probably the most important part of money management, is being able to decide between, is it a need or is it a want? Because sometimes there's kind of a gray area, and we find ourselves spending money on things that we don't necessarily need. And then that definitely adds up over time. So here's the tracking your expenses sheet. You guys don't need to fill this out right now, but definitely I would recommend taking it home. It's just kind of a good, if you don't have a way that you like to keep your budget on right now, this could be a great start. Just because it's easy, it's written out. You don't have to make anything. Just throw your amounts in there, and then maybe try it for just a couple of weeks and see what you think. I think that it's kind of amazing how much more money we're spending than we think we are once we actually write it all out. I know when I first started doing it, my guess of what I was spending, I wrote down what I thought it was, and it's significantly more just on going to the gas station and getting an energy drink before work or something like that. I didn't realize how much that was costing me in just a month's time. So this is going back to pay yourself first, which, like I said, is just setting aside that money before you start spending it to pay yourself and save. So we want to set goals. It's hard to reach them if we don't have them. So what you want to do is you just want to set so maybe it's the short term, maybe it's the medium term, maybe it's the long term goal. And you can have all three, or you can have just one. It's whatever, it's all personal. So, but after we set those, then we can pay ourselves first based on what our goal is. So maybe we need to stop going to the gas station like me and getting energy drinks a couple times a week so we can meet that goal. And it's not necessarily about the amount, like this says. A lot of people, I think, kind of tell themselves, well, I can't save very much money right now, so I'll start saving once I get a raise, or I'll start saving once I get another job or something like that. And I think that's a bad trap to fall into. It's really not about the amount. It's really just about creating that habit. So once we have that habit in place, then it'll be significantly easier. Once you start that next job, you already have that habit of setting aside money for yourself. So I think you'll be a lot better off if you can just get that habit building. And then, like it says, make savings a fixed expense. Essentially, that's what I was saying about setting aside. Treat your savings kind of as rent every month. So you got to pay rent every month, or gas. The things you have to pay for, essentially, is what it's saying. So if you treat savings like that, that's going to be the best way to start building that habit. And then we'll talk a little bit about credit as well. So credit can be in the form of a loan or credit cards. And then the good and bad, that's referring to good debt and bad debt. So good debt is going to be some things that we're in debt for it, but it's going to help us in the long run. And the bad debt is not necessarily bad things. It's just things that we don't necessarily want to be worrying about paying off. And if we do find ourselves in debt, specifically with a credit card, we want to make sure that we're getting the bill paid off in full every month. Because if we don't, then we're going to start paying interest on it. Essentially, we're going to be paying more than what we need to. So it's good to, when you have a credit card, and credit cards can be a great thing, especially for building credit, which you will need to take out loans in the future and get better rates on them. So credit's definitely an important thing, but when we're building it, we just want to be careful that we're not overspending, because it can be easy. It's like free money almost, it feels like at first, because it's not coming out of your account necessarily right away. So it's easy to get into a habit of just spending. But we want to be careful and kind of manage that amount we're doing. Maybe just set aside a few things we know we're going to use our credit card for. Maybe it's gas every month. Not necessarily things we don't know if we're going to be able to pay off. We want to be able at the end of the month to know we're going to be able to pay off our credit card bill. So we don't find that building interest and kind of creating a snowball type effect. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different credit cards. There's a lot of student credit cards I know, which is what I would look into, especially because different credit cards have different benefits. So you might be able to get one of those student cards, and then what you can get kind of cash back or points on things that students typically spend money on, whether it be at a gas pump or in an Uber, something like that. So if you look up student credit cards just on Google, it should come up with a whole list. And you can apply for the one that kind of makes the most sense for you. You can, I know when I was looking at which one I wanted to get, I had there was a website that had a side-by-side of all the different benefits of student credit cards. And so I just kind of determined which one I thought I would get the most benefit from, and then went with that one. And if you apply for it and then you get it, you should be able to, so every time you spend money on that credit card and you pay it off in a timely manner, you're going to be building a good credit score. The way that your credit score will start to decrease is if you're spending money and then you're not paying it back in a timely manner, or you're spending too much money. I know one thing that goes into bad credit is also having too many lines of credit. So too many credit cards. Some people kind of will fall into the trap of, if you go to the store, if you go to like Shields or Walmart, they always ask you, do you want a credit card? Because it'll be 50% less today. That can be nice maybe if it's one store that you go to all the time. But when you start doing it from every store and you have all these stores credit cards, that will have a negative effect on your credit score as well. So the best way to just start off and build that credit, I would say, is just to get a student credit card and then just start spending it on things that you know you're going to be able to pay off. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think it just starting off with the student credit card, it'll get you set up with an account. You can pay it off online. You just hook it up to your bank account, and you can just pay it directly from your checking account or savings account, whatever you need. Yeah, as long as you're paying your monthly bills, your credit will start to go up and up. You just got to make sure that you're paying it on time. And then that's also the thing, is some credit cards will have fees. So I know some of the American Express cards have fees, and it's because they have a higher benefits, which I would try to probably avoid that, because some of them can get pretty expensive. And for a student credit card, most of them don't have fees. So I would try to go for the one that doesn't have fees and just has some benefits of some points back for what you're going to be spending your money on. So essentially, you spend it, let's say you go to the gas station, you use your credit card. You then have, and it costs, your gas is $40. So then you have 40, it's pretty much you are promising to pay $40 back to whatever credit card company that you have by the end of the month. And if you don't, then they're going to start charging you a little bit more and a little bit more until you finally pay that off. So if you pay it off right away, you won't get hit with any fees or interest or anything like that. And then it'll also help your credit score more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome. So kind of still on the topic of credit, 3 kind of questions to ask yourself. Is this really an emergency? Do I have the money on hand to pay off the charge, which is what we were just talking about? And do I really need this, or can I live without it? So we don't want to be spending money necessarily on things that we're not sure, or not spending money. We don't want to be using credit on things that we're not really sure if we're going to be able to pay off at the end of the month. We want to be pretty confident that we're going to be able to make that credit card payment. So maintaining good credit, pay bills in full and on time, limit use of credit, be a convenience user. So the convenience user is kind of like what I was talking about. using it for a handful of things that you know you're going to be able to pay off at the end of the month, such as going to the gas station or maybe getting some groceries or something like that. Avoid having more than 2 credit cards. That's for the reason that I was saying having too many lines of credit can have a negative effect on that credit score. And the credit score is important. I don't know if I touched on that already. For taking out loans in the future, stuff like that. It'll help improve your interest rate, which is the amount of money you're going to be charged on top of how much it costs. Use one card for all expenditures so you can track expenses. So if you do have a couple different credit cards, try to kind of organize what you're using them for, just kind of to make it easier for you to keep your budget so you're not having to look at multiple different places to kind of see where your money is going. And then contact creditor immediately if you are struggling to make payments. So what that's saying is if you do find yourself in the situation where you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay your credit card bill on full, what you want to do is you just want to contact your credit card company and talk with them, because you're going to be a lot better off if they know that you're aware that you're not going to be able to pay it and you're contacting them and showing kind of that good faith. Like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this payment, but I plan to be able to make it on this day. They might appreciate that and maybe cut you some slack. Either way, it'll put you in a better place than if you just were to not contact them and kind of blow them off. Checking your credit report. So if you want to check and see what your credit score is, once you kind of have started building a line of credit and building a credit score, you can go onto these 3 websites and receive a free credit report. Also, I know that the budgeting app that I was talking about earlier, Mint, that gives you a free credit report. I think, I don't know if it's monthly, but it's pretty frequently. So I know you can do it that way as well. Yeah, it's called Mint. It's an app. Yeah. So you can just download it, connect it to your bank account. And it's I think it's pretty handy, because it kind of it does pretty much everything for you and tells you where you're spending your money. The only negative of it is it takes a couple days. It's kind of delayed. So like you might look at it and be like, oh, I have this much money, but if you go look at your bank account, you don't. It's just that it's delayed. So that's the only struggle with it. But other than that, it's pretty good. Back to protecting your identity. So here's just a couple of tips just to kind of stay safe and avoid identity theft. Is you do not want to carry your social security card on you. So that's something that if you have a safe or something like that, just keep it in there. Do not let anyone else get a hold of it. Do not carry your PINs. So your PINs for whether it be debit card or something like that. Either just memorize them or keep them write them down somewhere maybe and keep that in the safe with your social security card. You don't want to have people getting into that. Buy a shredder and use it. So that's what it's saying is when you get those important documents in the mail that have your name and personal information on it, you don't want to just throw those away, even in the trash can. You want to make sure you're tearing them up and stuff like that. Or if you have a shredder, use that. Yes. If it's saying you've been pre-approved, I think I personally just usually toss those because I don't know how they would necessarily. If it's not, are you saying it's not something you signed up for or anything like that? Yeah, I usually just toss them. Because I don't think they should be able to have any personal information of mine because I definitely didn't enter any of it in. So you're probably good on that. But yes, any financial statements and anything like that, bank statements, you're going to want to make sure that we're not just tossing them in the trash can because, I mean, unlikely, but someone could find them. So we just want to be a little extra safe. And then managing risk. This talks a little bit about insurance. So we just want to know what coverage we have, whether it be life insurance, property insurance, auto insurance, or even just insurance on personal devices, such as like your phone, laptop, stuff like that. It's good to just have an idea of what coverage you have so that if a situation were to arise where you get into a car accident or your laptop falls off the desk, something like that. It's kind of nice having the peace of mind to know, okay, someone's kind of got my back a little bit there. So the best way to manage your risk is having some sort of insurance, because insurance is essentially paying someone else to take on that risk for you. So the next steps, this is kind of just a general reminder of those steps that we're going to take to start kind of managing our money. So we want to control our spending. which we talked about, being mindful of what we're spending our money on. Pay yourself first, which we talked about a few times now. Use debt carefully. Like I said, with the credit cards and loans, we want to make sure we're able to pay those off in a timely manner. Protect your identity, back to the shredder, and manage your risk, whether it be insurance or just knowing where you're covered. So what are we going to do? We're going to consider short-term and long-term goals, because that's one of the key aspects of budgeting, is having those goals in place and really just being able to follow through with them. Setting up a savings account can be a great way to kind of start reaching those goals. If we just have one checking account, it can kind of make it difficult to set aside that money or pay ourselves first, because if it's all in one general location, it makes it a lot easier to spend. We think, oh, we've got plenty of money, but really that's part of it's supposed to be your savings. So it can be a little misleading. Create a budget and monitor your spending. So whether it be that budget sheet, or if you guys check out Mint and you like it, you don't mind the little delay, then that's great. It's really budgeting, I feel like, is really whatever is easiest for you is the best way. If it's going to be something that you're able to be consistent with, whether it be just writing it down on a piece of paper or using an app, whatever is easiest for you is going to be the best way. Use credit as convenience only. So we don't want to keep a revolving amount in our credit card balance. We want to make sure we're getting that paid off and using it on things that we're confident that we can pay. And then be on the alert for identity thieves. So just be careful again with your passwords and where that information is. So that kind of wraps up the money management talk. Like I said, I am here today with Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing Services. I'm new to the program, but they do have a handful of different groups. So as you see there on the left, I am part of the Financial Wellbeing Ambassadors, but there also are Wellbeing Ambassadors, Suicide Prevention and Reach Training, Collegiate Recovery Community, and they do have a lot more. So if you guys are interested in meeting with any financial ambassadors while you're here, we are kind of getting set up to do like one-on-one meetings and stuff like that. So for students who are interested in kind of talking on more of a personal level about what they have going on and about kind of managing their budgeting and trying to just relieve some stress around that, that will be a service we have. Yeah. So the Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing is in the health center. Yeah, but we're kind of partnering with a few people this semester. We're going to be partnering up, I think, a little bit with Trio. So we might be over in Canfields for a little bit, a couple times a week. We're still kind of figuring out what we're brainstorming a little bit still. But they do have the Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing office in the first floor of the health center. Yeah. And then there's the contact information if you guys are interested in meeting with any of these services. Everybody there has been awesome. Yeah. Reach is, that's a great question. I should know that. I don't know. I know that's, yeah, I have friends who've done the training, and it was a cool opportunity. I cannot remember what REACH stands for though. I know the training is just kind of like learning how to talk to peers and helping kind of finding the signs of someone who is suicidal and kind of helping them find the right help that they need. I know that's what it's about. I'm not sure what REACH training is. Yes. Okay. Awesome. I think as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, I think any student at Lincoln can join Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing. This is my first year volunteering for it. I have not done the training for that. I'm just in the Financial Wellbeing Ambassadors, but I think if you are interested in it, as far as I know, you are more than welcome to sign up as a volunteer and do the training and work with Big Red Resilience and Wellbeing, which so far my experience has been awesome. Everybody there is super, super awesome. Yeah. And that is it. Is there any questions or anything like that?